We will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore. So I don't think you have a choice. How can you be an artist and not reflect the times? That to me is the definition of an artist.
Thank you and welcome to my channel, Simply Your World, where we discuss past and present events that will affect you if they haven't already. Today we're going to discuss a condition called BIID, which stands for Body Integrity Identity Disorder, also known as being transabled. Just like transgender, it's exactly what it sounds like. Like man turning to woman, you have people who are actually what you will call able-bodied. All the extremities, everything works seemingly perfectly, but they have the urge to want to be disabled. Today we're going to highlight a lady named Jewel, another lady named Chloe. Now Jewel, she's one of the more extreme cases. She actually went through with the procedure, and because she had the want or the feeling that she wanted to be blinded. Then you have Chloe, who is able-bodied, loves to ski, loves the outdoors, but she feels as if she should be paraplegic, and she's trying to raise the money now to become paraplegic. So I know that sounds crazy, but this is a real condition, and we're going to get into it. So with all that being said, let's get into it.
BIID means that you have a need to be disabled in some way. In my case, it was a need to go blind.
9 years ago, Jewel took the drastic decision to blind herself, and she researched the method she would use.
I found that lye is very painful, although it does get the job done. I found that drain cleaner is little less painful, although it does a lot of damage to the eye. Because drain cleaner was easily available to me, I went with that.
She found a psychologist willing to help her, and after 2 weeks of working together to make sure she was ready, they carried out Jewel's plan.
I laid down on the sofa and he sat next to me. Dropped 2 drops into each eye. My eyes were screaming. I had some drain cleaner going down my cheek, burning my skin. In the moment, all I could think of was, I'm going blind. It's going to be okay.
How do you feel sorry for someone like that? I mean, that's just the first. Out of all the things that I am thinking, how do you feel sorry for someone like this? Think about it. With resources being scarce the way they are, or people have to go on these long waiting lists to become, dependent on the government to take care of their certain needs that they need because they are blind, who can't help it. But you have women like this who have all their abilities, but yet decide to get on the system and suck resources away from people who actually needed it from birth, or someone who became disabled and couldn't help it. It's crazy how far this thing is going. When it started with the LGBT and all that, everyone was like, oh, okay, we can accept that. But now you got people even wanting to say they're trans wolves and they xenogender and they feel like cakes. And these are the things that we and our children are going to have to accept and deal with going on into the future. So let's get back into it.
After waiting half an hour to make sure the damage was done, the psychologist took Jewel to hospital, where doctors fought to save her sight.
When I woke up the following day, I was joyful until I turned on my back, opened my eyes, and could see the TV screen. I was so enraged, and I thought that it hadn't worked. Then over about 6 months, the sight in both eyes slowly went away. I was so happy. I felt that this was who I was supposed to be.
While Jewel was happy, her actions cost her her relationship with her family, but this was something she'd been building up to throughout her life.
I first developed the idea that I need to be blind when I was around 6 years old. I was told by my mother that if I looked into the sun, I'd go blind, and so I stared into the sun for hours on end. Thinking about being blind made me feel comfortable, I was blind simming, which is pretending to be blind.
Wow, blind
Becoming blind was
simming.
definitely a difficult decision to make. I tried to avoid it, but it kept coming up in my head. And by the time I was 21, it was a non-stop alarm that was going off.
As extreme as Jules' case sounds, she is not alone. Dr. Michael First is a leading expert on the condition. He even coined the term BIID to describe it.
A lot of people who have this just live with it, but they don't take that step of actually actualizing it. But a significant minority of people with this have the feeling so strongly that they will go and do something to make it happen. Our job is to reduce suffering however it's possible. The question is, what can be done? People have tried therapy, they've tried medication. None of those have really been successful. The ethics of whether it is okay to take a normal person and make them disabled is, I think you can make it an ethical case that if you conceptualize this as treating a condition, then it's a...
Listen, there is no cure for mental illness. So what we're seeing with all these different things that we deem as weird, and they're allowing all these people to just come out of the woodworks, and say whatever they want to say, live how they want to live. That is just the psychological industry and the psychiatry and the sociology industry coming together saying, hey, y'all, listen, there's nothing we can do about mental illness, so we have to create societies or pens or gates inside of society to allow these people to flourish however they want to flourish. However they want to feel that way. Because there's nothing that they can do on a medical level that can subside or reduce any type of mental illness. Only thing they do is make it worse. Mental illness you can be born with, or it can be induced through trauma or some type of medical procedure. Right? Either way it goes, there is no reversal for mental illness. And now all they're doing is allowing these people to come out and live how they want to live, and we are forced to accept it through rules and laws and policies and all these different things they put in place for you or for us or we or however you want to say it to adhere to. How is it even legal to permanently blind somebody who don't need to be blinded? The psychologist should be brought up on charges. But anyway, man, let's just keep going.
Okay to do it. The big fear, of course, is somebody goes ahead and gets an amputation and becomes disabled and then changes their mind. I'd like to encourage people to do what makes sense to make them feel better, but this is such a drastic move that it's hard to encourage.
Now, when it comes to the notion of my body, my choice, I can understand these people's situation a little bit better because it is just your body and your body alone. Okay, but without getting too deep on that, that's a topic for another time. We're going to move forward. This lady that we're about to get into name is Chloe, and she is another person who suffers from BIID. She feels as if she should be paralyzed, even though she, again, is able-bodied, has all her extremities. She loves outdoor sports. She loves to ski, but yet in her mind, she should be paraplegic and is actually taking steps to do or find a doctor that can do what's called a transectional on her femur and her sciatic nerves to render her paralyzed. So, with all that being said, let's get back into it.
Chloe Jennings White spends her days confined to a wheelchair. It's tough to get around, and she struggles with living in a world that isn't built for the disabled. However, Chloe is actually able to walk perfectly and chooses to live her life like a paraplegic due to a rare psychological disorder called BIID. Despite wishing she was paralysed, Chloe still takes part in extreme sports like skiing. BIID has led Chloe, a Cambridge University educated research scientist, to harm herself in a bid to become paraplegic for real.
I have fantasies about having a car wreck and becoming paraplegic from a car wreck.
Perhaps most shockingly of all, London-born Chloe is on a quest to find a surgeon willing to operate in order to paralyse her legs forever.
I did find a surgeon in another country who would be prepared to do femoral and sciatic nerve transections to paralyze my legs. It would be at least $25,000. I don't have the money to do it. That's basically the only reason that I've not yet had surgery.
For her whole life, Chloe has wished, more than anything, that she was disabled.
From about 10 years old, I somehow got the idea to bandage my legs when I was home alone, so nobody would know what I was doing. I sort of fabricated a leg brace so that I couldn't bend my knee, and walking around like that felt, oh wow, this is how it's supposed to be.
Chloe struggled to cope with her feelings.
For a long time, I had no idea why I felt this way about my legs.
Chloe only began to get real relief from her condition when she started using a wheelchair full-time in 2008.
Now, people like this not only drain physical resources, but they also drain emotional resources. What I mean by that is, imagine someone who is caring, giving, or wants to help out, or whatever the case is, and they see someone like this. They push them up the ramp, and they may push them up the street, or just whatever they do, talk to them, and really heart really goes out to them. And then they find out that this person was faking the whole time. That's almost like crying wolf. That person is less likely, maybe, potentially less likely to help the next person who really needs that help, who really needs that extra push. It's been hot all day and they've been pushing up the hill. Nobody's been helping them out, rarely helps them out. In that instance that you would have helped them, you'd be like, nah, that motherfucker probably faking. But that's what I mean. They drain more than just physical resources. It's the emotional side that takes the toll on the people who need it more than others. But anyway.
When you have BIID, the stress is really intense. The first few friends I told, I would literally be shaking and crying even with emotion. I was not really living a normal life before that. It was always in my mind. It's like, I'm supposed to be paralyzed.
I mean, when it comes to people like this, you cannot feel sorry for them. And I consider them the scum of the earth. A part of a faction of the scum of the earth amongst others. It's just ridiculous to me how great the lengths these people go to, or the great lengths these people go to and through, just to achieve their purpose and try to make me believe, or you believe, that they have this mental illness, when really they're just it is a mental illness. They're just more psychotic, and these psychologists or psychiatrists go so far as to try to construct a name around it, when they should just be admitted to the hospital, in my own opinion.
Deal with the anxiety BIID causes her. Chloe sees psychotherapist Dr. Mark Mallon as often as she can.
The problem that I run into is that people make up these fantasies about BIID. Like they say, oh, well, you're doing it to get disability benefits. You're doing it to get attention. And then you say, no, that's not it. And then they'll come up with another fantasy of theirs.
So it sounds like just misunderstanding, and a lot of what you're having to do is educate people about...
education, yeah.
Dr. Mallon says BIID is actually very real.
And it's a psychological disorder that people have, or they desire to have some sort of body modification, but it's a sense that a person really wants to lose some sort of ability that they have.
And like other BIID sufferers, Chloe's illness has worrying symptoms.
I have to admit, any time I'm driving, I sort of conjure up accident scenarios in my mind where I would become paraplegic.
In 2009, Chloe really did crash, surviving a horrific 75 mile per hour double rollover.
One of the things that was in my mind after the car wreck was, did I do this deliberately in order to, be paraplegic? I couldn't say for sure at that time that I had not done it deliberately, because I simply had no memory of that.
In this section of the video, I decided to add comments from people that are disabled against their will, and actually how some feel about this mental illness on the positive side and the negative side. I also want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.